History often shouts about moments, but God works in seasons. We remember Moses as the man of thunder. The staff lifted over the Red Sea, the law blazing on Sinai, the voice that faced Pharaoh without fear. Yet the Bible hides more than it reveals. Between the verses are long stretches of silence, 40 years in a palace where he never truly belonged, 40 years in a wilderness where nobody knew his name, and another 40 years leading a stubborn people while his own heart was being reshaped. This is the story of those quiet chapters, the unseen making of a deliverer. Before Moses had a voice, the world had already decided who he should be. Pharaoh had spoken. Every Hebrew boy must die. Imagine a mother holding her newborn son, knowing the law of the land was hunting his breath. Jochebed wrapped him not only in cloth, but in desperate faith. For 3 months she hid him. Every cry could have been a death sentence, every knock on the door an ending. Then came the day she could hide him no more. She built a small ark, a basket sealed with tar, echoing Noah, echoing hope. Miriam watched from a distance as the Nile carried her brother toward a destiny no Hebrew could imagine. The princess found him. The daughter of Pharaoh lifted a Hebrew child from the river that was meant to drown him. She named him Moses, drawn out of water. But another truth lay hidden in that name. He would one day draw a nation out of slavery. Now begins the first silent chapter. Scripture says almost nothing about Moses' childhood in Egypt. Yet these were the years that formed his mind. He learned the language of power, the science of builders, the strategy of armies, the wisdom of scribes. He walked marble floors while his people walked in mud. He ate at royal tables while Hebrews ate tears. And somewhere inside that palace, 2 identities wrestled in one chest. Am I the son of Pharaoh's daughter or the son of a slave woman? One day, Moses left the palace gates and saw what privilege had hidden.
Get up, you lazy dog! Work hard! Move faster, you lazy dogs! Work or feel my wrath! Please, no more!
An Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave. Something ancient rose inside him. Blood memory, buried identity. He looked left, he looked right, and in a moment of uncontrolled justice, he struck the Egyptian dead. The next day he learned a painful truth. Deliverance cannot be born from anger alone. Who made you ruler over us? His own people asked. Rejected by Egypt, rejected by Hebrews, Moses ran. The wilderness that erased him. This begins the longest silence. 40 years in Midian, a lifetime hidden between 2 sentences of scripture. From prince to shepherd, from palace to pasture, from somebody to nobody. In Egypt he commanded soldiers. In Midian he followed sheep. Days without applause, nights without audience, only the sound of goats, the smell of dust, and the slow healing of a violent heart. Here, Moses learned what Egypt could not teach: how to wait, how to listen, how to live without being important. God often reduces a man before he reveals a mission. Love in a forgotten land. In Midian, Moses became more than a fugitive. He became a husband to Zipporah, a son-in-law to Jethro, a father to Gershom. He named his child a stranger there. Even in peace, he felt temporary. These family years are silent in Scripture, yet they mattered. He learned tenderness after violence. He learned responsibility after rage. He learned to protect life instead of taking it. The deliverer was being domesticated by ordinary love. Then, one ordinary day became the hinge of history. A bush burned without being consumed. God speaks mostly to people busy with small duties.
Moses!
Not great leader, not Prince of Egypt, but simply his name. as if heaven had been waiting for him all these quiet years. Go back. Back to the place of failure, back to the memory of murder, back to Pharaoh. Moses answered with 5 excuses, proof that wilderness had made him humble but also afraid. God was not looking for confidence, he was looking for obedience. Imagine the walk back to Egypt, 80 years old, no army, no reputation, only a staff and a promise. The palace remembered him as a criminal. The Hebrews remembered him as a runaway. Yet God chooses leaders with complicated pasts.
The God of Israel command what says, "Let my people go." Of his voice is Job. Who is this God? I do not know him, I will obey. You will.
Let my people go. The sentence that changed empires. Moses faced Pharaoh not with sword but with words. Plagues fell like sermons, water to blood, darkness like judgment, firstborn taken. Between each plague were silent nights when Moses must have wondered, am I destroying a nation to save another? Leadership is lonely mathematics. At the Red Sea, Moses met the final exam of his hidden years. People screamed, armies approached, the past chased the future. God said, "Stretch out your hand." The staff of a shepherd became the key of oceans. Wilderness training now made sense. Freedom did not cure the people. They carried Egypt inside them. They complained about water, about bread, about tomorrow. Moses spent more time managing moods than performing miracles. Here lies another silent chapter, the emotional cost of leadership. He was judge, counselor, father, and punching bag. On Sinai, Moses entered a cloud and came out carrying a nation's conscience. 40 days alone with God, another silence. Down below, the people built a golden calf. Even miracles cannot replace character. Moses shattered the tablets as if breaking his own heart. Years passed. Moses buried complainers, mediated quarrels, prayed for rebels. Once in frustration, he struck the rock instead of speaking. One mistake after a lifetime of faith, and he lost entry to the Promised Land. A painful mystery. Even great servants remain human. At 120 years old, Moses climbed Mount Nebo. God showed him the land he would never enter, the final silent chapter. No crowd, no ceremony, only God and his servant. He died between promise and fulfillment, proof that success is not always arrival but obedience. The life of Moses is not only in the miracles, it is in the gaps, in the basket floating quietly, in palace years of confusion, in Midian decades of obscurity, in lonely tents of leadership. God builds his greatest instruments in seasons the world calls wasted. If your life feels silent, unfinished, unknown, remember Moses. The chapters you cannot read may be the ones heaven is writing. If you find this video entertaining and educative, please like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more. Thank you.